Hey friends, Lord of the Rings is coming to Magic the Gathering, and we just got 4 pre-constructed commander decks coming along with the set. I covered 2 of these decks already on this channel, and in this video we're going to be covering Riders of Rohan. This is a Jeskai deck with 2 main themes, humans and monarchy, along with a legendary creature sub-theme. This Precon comes with 20 brand new cards exclusive to the deck, and then the rest of the deck are reprints with brand new Lord of the Rings artwork. So the entire deck from top to bottom is Lord of the Rings themed. Before we check out the deck, 2 quick reminders. First, if you want to pick up these precons, you can buy them at our sponsor, cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish. And number 2, be sure to like and subscribe to never miss these preview videos as they come out, and all of our other sweet Commander content as it's released every single week. Alright, we dive into the precon with the face commander of the deck. This is Éowyn Shield Maiden. It's a 5-mana Jeskai 5/4 legendary creature human knight with first strike, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, if another human enters the battlefield under your control this turn, create 2/2/2 red human knight creature tokens with trample and haste. Then if you control 6 or more humans, draw a card. So right off the bat, I'm going to say that Éowyn is probably the strongest commander out of all of the pre-constructed decks. For 5 mana, you get a 5/4 first striker, which is a respectable body, and then the triggered ability of having another human enter the battlefield is very, very easy and reliable in a human deck. And if you manage to do that, you get 2 more human tokens. They have trample and haste, they can immediately attack. So on the very first turn that you cast her, if you had another human enter the battlefield, that's 9 power on the battlefield, 4 of which already has haste. And then you get to draw a card if you have 6 or more humans, which is also very easy considering Éowyn is putting 2 more onto the battlefield. So Éowyn comes with a ginormous amount of board presence, damage potential, and that's all really, really great. And then it's also tied to a little bit of card draw. And the other cool thing about this ability is that it's a combat trigger, so if you have any other extra turn spells, and there are a few in this deck, then you get to trigger this ability more than once per turn, because every single combat. So if you have extra combats, that means more 2/2 humans, and that means more card draw. So this card is just a powerhouse. Éowyn is going to be on the receiving end of a lot of removal spells, otherwise she's just going to take over the game. It's that simple. Now, Éowyn is the perfect commander for the deck if you're focusing on the humans side of the deck, but there's another theme going on in this deck, and that's monarchy. And if you want to focus on the monarchy side of the deck, then Aragorn, King of Gondor, is your king for this one. This is a 4-mana Jeskai 4/4 legendary creature human noble, vigilance lifelink, and when Aragorn enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. Whenever Aragorn attacks, up to 1 target creature can't block this turn, and if you're the monarch, creatures can't block this turn. So for a Monarch deck, Aragorn does exactly what you need him to be doing. First, he enters the battlefield and gives you the Monarch. He's a 4/4 blocker because he has Vigilance, so that's always respectable. And then he also gets back the crown very easily because he can make creatures unable to block. And then once you are the Monarch and you have a lethal army, then Aragorn just gives all of them perfect evasion because all creatures can't block for that lethal swing. So those are the 2 commander options of the stock pre-constructed deck. However, we have 18 other brand new cards to talk about. So we move on to Denethor, Stone Seer. This is a 2-mana blue legendary creature, human noble, 1/3. When Denethor enters the battlefield, scry 2. He's scrying into the Palantir. And then you can pay 3 a red and tap, sacrifice Denethor. Target player becomes the monarch. Denethor deals 3 damage to any target. So this just echoes his death. He goes on fire, he's burning, so red and everything and dealing damage. I guess he dealt damage to himself. I don't know if he killed anybody with him. But anyway, when he dies, then Aragorn becomes the monarch, which is very fitting and flavorful. And this works really well with both the humans theme, because he's a human, and also the monarch theme. Then we've got Archivist of Gondor. This is a 3-mana blue 2/3 creature human advisor. When your commander deals combat damage to a player, if there is no monarch, you become the monarch. And at the beginning of the monarch's end step, that player draws a card. So monarchy, you generally get 1 card. This one doubles the value of being the monarch. This is excellent, both for humans and monarchy. Next up, we have Faramir, Steward of Gondor, and he touches upon a sub-theme that I didn't talk about yet, which is legendary creatures mattering. There are a ton of legendary creatures in the set, and particularly this pre-constructed deck. And there are a couple payoffs for it. So Faramir is a 3-mana Azorius 2/2 legendary creature human noble, and it says whenever a legendary creature with mana value 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you become the monarch. At the beginning of your end step, if you're the monarch, create 2 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens. So this ties with all the main themes, humans and monarchy, but it also adds a little greater emphasis on legendary creatures, which there are an abundance of, as you can quickly see in this deck. Such as our next card, Gilrayan Dunedain Protector. This is a 3-mana white 2/3 legendary creature human noble. You can pay 2 and tap her, exile another target creature you control. You may return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. If you don't, at the beginning of next end step, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control with a vigilance counter and a lifelink counter on it. So either you blink them and it comes back immediately, or you blink them and they come at the end step with a little bit of a buff. It works really well with Faramir because if you're blinking something with a mana value 4 or greater, a legendary creature with mana 4 or greater, then you can get the monarchy back really easily. You can just reuse enter the battlefield triggers all the time. And you can even, if you want to swing for lethal, you can remove a potential blocker, get the monarchy off that player, and then, they come back with a vigilance and lifelink counter, so they're a little bit better, but, it is a flexible card. Moving on, we have yet another legendary creature, Gimli of the Glittering Caves. This is a 3-mana red 1/1 legendary creature, dwarf warrior with double strike, and whenever another legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Gimli of the Glittering Caves. Whenever Gimli deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. So again, a little bit of a legendary creatures mattering theme here. This is a dwarf, not a human, and it doesn't have anything to do with monarchy, so this card is a little bit weird in the deck, but nonetheless, it is a treasure token generator. It has double strike, so each time it's attacking, it can potentially make 2 treasure tokens, which is fantastic, and it can grow into a serious threat. And then next we've got Baragond of the Guard. This is a 4-mana white 3/3 legendary creature human soldier. Whenever Baragond or another human enters the battlefield under your control, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain vigilance until end of turn. So this is a huge finisher for the go wide human strategy. This deck is all about humans, casting humans, making human tokens. So this is going to be a great finisher for the deck. And it's also legendary, so it deals with that theme as well. And next we have yet another legendary creature, Boromir, Gondor's Hope. This is an Azorius 4-mana, 3/4 legendary creature, human warrior. Whenever Boromir enters the battlefield or attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a human or artifact card from among them and put it onto your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this is just a straightforward ETB or attacks card advantage engine in a human deck. And it's fantastic here. And then we've got Grey Host Reinforcements. This is a 4-mana white 1/1 creature spirit soldier, flying ward 3. When it enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard, put a number of +1/+1 counters on Grey Host Reinforcements equal to the number of creature cards exiled this way. So this is just straightforward graveyard hate, but it also doubles as a serious threat on the table, which is nice. Next we've got Lossarnach Captain, I believe that's how you're saying it. I'm not sure. It's a 4-mana white 3/1 creature human soldier with first strike. Whenever it or another human enters the battlefield under your control, tap target creature and opponent controls. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. So in this deck, primarily its function is just going to be tapping down potential blockers, so both you and mutual opponents can attack that player, which is really, really nice. This card is low-key very strong, but also if you had any ways of flashing in your human creatures or making human tokens at instant speed, then you could tap down potential attackers too if you are afraid of somebody trying to steal the monarchy from you, for example. And then we have Aylmer, King of Rohan. This is a 5-mana Boros 2/2 legendary creature human noble with double strike. Aylmer enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each other human you control, and when it enters the battlefield, target player becomes the monarch. Aylmer deals damage equal to its power to any target. So this is a sweet value piece and finisher in the deck. It can make yourself the monarch. It can also make anybody else the monarch. I'm not sure why you would want to do that, but generally speaking, you're going to make yourself the monarch. Aylmer is going to enter the battlefield really, really big. If you have like 5 humans on the battlefield, it's going to be like a 7/7 and then deal damage equal to its power. So like 7 power to any creature, basically kill anything or just nug somebody in the face for 7. That's just like an average cast of Irmor, I assume. And it's a double striker, so it hits really, really hard. This card is gas in this deck. And then we have Riders of Rohan, which happens to be the name of the deck as well. It's another 5-mana Boros 4/4 creature human knight. And it says, when Riders of Rohan enters the battlefield, create 2/2 red human knight creature tokens with trample and haste. And it also has -6. So if you want to have it gain haste and reuse it into the battlefield to trigger, or maybe dodge some sorcery speed removal, you can dash it in for 6 mana instead of just hard casting it for 3, and reuse that ability as well. It's a nice value piece. It puts a lot of humans onto the battlefield very reliably. All good stuff in this deck. Then we've got Champions of Minas Tirith. This is a 6-mana white 4/6 creature human soldier. When it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. At the beginning of combat on each opponent's turn, if you're the monarch, that opponent may pay X, where X is the number of cards in their hand. If they don't, they can't attack you this combat. So this is a huge boon for the monarchy deck. It makes yourself monarch, and also makes it incredibly difficult for your opponents to attack you. Unless they're sitting like Hellbent or whatever, they don't want to spend 2, 3, 7 mana to attack you. That's not going to be happening. And it's also a 4/6 body by itself too. It's 6 mana, so that's a lot of mana, but as far as top ends go for a Monarch deck, I mean, this is a great way to both get the Monarchy on ETB and also make sure you're holding onto that Monarchy and your precious life total at the same time. Next, we've got the sorceries. We've got 4th Irulingus. I have no idea how to say that. X red white sorcery, create X 2/2 red human knight creature tokens with trample and haste. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to one or more players this turn, you become the monarch. So this is a nice versatile way to either early game get the monarchy from somebody who doesn't have a blocker as a surprise, or late game you have like 10 mana or whatever, you dump it all into this and you make 8 2/2s with trample and haste and you just swing for lethal. So that's really nice. Then we've got another interesting pseudo finisher, I would say. This is a 5-mana red sorcery that says gain control of all creatures target opponent controls until end of turn. Untap those creatures. They gain haste until end of turn. You can't attack that player this turn. You can't sacrifice those creatures this turn. So it's basically a very, very watered down fair insurrection. Instead of stealing everybody's creatures for 8 mana and doing with it what you will, this one for 5 mana you get to steal one person's creatures, but you can't do anything that would make them sad, basically. You can't attack them with it, and you can't sacrifice them later. They can still die if, like, defenders, blockers kill them, but for the most part, it's flavorful, obviously. Like, if you're calling for aid and somebody gives you assistance, they expect you not to attack them with their own soldiers. That wouldn't really work, or not slaughter them. That would be kind of bad guest relations. But as a card itself, I feel like it's a little bit too tame. I get the flavor. The flavor is great, but maybe if it was a little bit cheaper, I would be more on board with it. But then again, like 3 mana is a threaten with upside already, so I don't know. It's probably fairly costed. Whatever. Anyway, moving on. Taunt from the Rampart. This is a 5-mana Boros sorcery that says goad all creatures your opponents control until your next zone. Those creatures can't block. Now, I like this card way more than Call for Aid, actually. Mass Goad is always great. Making sure they can't block is always great because that means you can swing immediately into all those creatures. Even if they're untapped, it doesn't matter. You can get the Monarchy, and then they can't hit you back. And they're going to be dealing a lot of damage to each other. I love this card, actually. And then we have some artifacts. Crown of Gondor. This is a 3-mana legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each creature you control, so it supports a go-wide strategy. And when a legendary creature enters the battlefield under control, if there is no monarch, you become the monarch. So it gives monarchy and legendary creature sub-team. And then finally, equip 4. This ability costs 3 less to cast if you are the monarch. So this is just a nice payoff for both humans, go wide strategies, legendary creatures, and monarchies. All of the main themes of the deck are going well together in this card. And then the final 2 brand new cards that are exclusive to the deck are Fealty to the Realm. This is a 5-mana blue enchantment aura. It says enchant creature. When Fealty to the Realm enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. The monarch controls the enchanted creature. Very cool. Enchanted creature attacks each combat if able and can't attack you. So 5 mana is a lot, but at ETB, enters the battlefield, gives you the monarchy, gives you control of a cool creature, and makes sure that creature will never be able to attack you. Even if you lose control of the creature and you lose the crown, that creature will not be able to attack you still. So that's really good. 5 mana is a lot for this effect, but all the pieces together, I feel the sum is greater than its parts, you know? And then finally, the last card of the deck that is exclusive to this deck is Oath of Uriel. I have no idea how to say that, sorry. 5 mana Boros Saga. It has 3 chapters. Chapter 1 says create 2 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens. Chapter 2 says create 2 2/2 red human knight creature tokens with trample and haste. And chapter 3 says put an indestructible counter on up to 1 target human. You become the monarch. So for 5 mana, you get 3 creatures onto the battlefield, and you become the monarch, and one of your humans become indestructible. That could be one of your commanders per se, or the thing that your deck is built around. So this card is just good value. It's really sweet. It's kind of slow, but the value is definitely there. So those are the 20 brand new cards that are exclusive to the deck, and then the rest of the deck are reprints. They're a combination of cards that you're going to see in the main Lord of the Rings set, and then also reprints of just older cards that have brand new artwork that is Lord of the Rings themed, and brand new flavor text that is lifted directly from the Lord of the Rings books. So the entire deck, no matter being reprint or brand new card, is all Lord of the Rings. It's an entirely cohesive pre-constructed deck, which I think is just fantastic, and that is definitely how you do it for every single Precon deck, I think. So we've got Weathered Wayfarer. It's a human. It fetches lands. It's card advantage. It's always good. Harsh Mentor, another human. It punishes our opponents a little bit. I don't really like it here too much in the deck, but whatever. Humble Defector. It's a human. It draws you some cards. It is a political tool. Politics and monarchy usually mix very well together. We've got Prince Imrahil the Fair from the main set. It's a human. It makes human tokens, so it fits the theme. We've got Bastion Protector. It's a human. It protects our commander. Combat Celebrant. This is a human that allows us to take an extra combat step, which is fantastic with Eowyn, especially as our commander. Fiend Hunter, a human that acts as removal. Frontline Medic, which is a way to make sure that our creatures don't die as we're swinging out. Also a human. Theoden, it's from the main set, human, and also has humans mattering, double striking, good stuff. Verge Rangers, it's a human. It produces some card advantage, lets you cast or play lands from the top of your library. Village Bellringer, another human, untaps all your creatures. So surprise blockers, for example, in this particular deck. Erkenbrand is from the main set, another human, and deals with humans mattering, pumps up your team. Frontier Warmonger, it's another human, and it's also political. As long as your opponents are attacking someone other than you, they're gaining a menace, so they can steal the monarchy or just deal damage or get around blockers much easier. Palace Jailer, a human that gets you the monarchy and also doubles as removal. Selfless Squire, prevents damage, protects you from being attacked, protects the crown, and it's a human. Flame Rush Rider is a human that copies another human you have on the battlefield, so more ETB shenanigans and whatnot. Zealous Conscripts, a human that steals a creature for a turn. And then Dealer Departed, it's a spirit, it's not a human, but it pumps all your humans as long as it's in the graveyard, so it's a human card. Then we move on to the instants and sorceries. We've got Earthquake, which just is a board wipe. Not particularly a great board wipe in this deck, but it is a board wipe. Path to Exile, a premium staple instant speed removal spell. Swords of Plowshares, another one of the most popular cards in the entire format. Great to see here. Lost to Legends, it's from the main set. It removes a historic permanent. Sunset Revelry, I don't think this card's very good, but it fits the theme. Unbreakable Formation, it's a great way to protect your humans from being just wiped out, or lets you do a big swing with still having vigilance to block afterwards. Supreme Verdict, this is just a fantastic removal spell, a board wipe. Increasing Devotion, one of the most efficient token generators in the format, and it makes all humans, so that is doubly good here. Vision of Glory also makes human tokens, works really well here. We have Sol Ring as a reprint. I don't think it's this particular card or card version that's going to be showing up, but I couldn't find the one that was in the Precon, so I just threw this one in here. Wayfarer's Bauble, great ramp. Arcane Signet, staple. Talisman and Conviction, great to see a reprint. Talisman of Progress, we really desperately needed a reprint here. I think this card's a couple bucks because it just didn't show up for a while, so this is a great card to see here. Thought Vessel, that's all right. Commander Sphere, that's all right. Heirloom Blade, this card is good for a deck that is focusing on one tribe, so humans, it's great here. Herald's Horn, same thing. Door of Destinies, a great way to buff your team if you're focusing on a tribe like humans. Vanquisher's Banner, card draw, and a little bit of an Anthem effect for humans. Banishing Light, a little bit of removal. Shared Animosity is fantastic in general for any deck that is focusing on one tribe. Humans, this is going to be just fantastic here. Marshal's Anthem, another way to pump your team and give a little bit of recursion. Court of Ire deals with the monarchy, so we have another way of getting the crown, and it is really scary. Like, if you ever see Court of Ire on the battlefield, nobody wants to get nugged for 7 each turn. That's a lot of damage. So this card is really solid. And then we come to the lands, and there's actually a lot of really good reprints here. The cards that I want to be seeing in terms of lands, we want to be seeing, or I personally want to be seeing, lands that enter the field untapped and tap for more than one color, especially in a 3-color deck. So we have one Pain land, we have Battlefield Forge, we don't have Adakar Waste, and we don't have Shivan Reef, because I think those cards are specific to Dominaria. They call about a region in Dominaria, so you can't really reprint them in a Lord of the Rings set. Battlefield Forge, thankfully, doesn't have a specific area it's referring to, so it can be reprinted here. We also have the check lands, which I think absolutely fantastic to see here. Clifftop Retreat. We have Command Tower, that's always great. Evolving Wilds, I like the new art, but I don't think it's worth running in precons anymore. I think we've moved on from it. I hope we never see it again. Exotic Orchard, though, I absolutely love. Field of Ruin, I'm not so super stoked on it here either. The Snarls, the reveal lands, I think are absolutely fine in a precons. There's enough basic lands here that they're going to be showing up untapped sometimes, and if they enter the battlefield tapped some other times, that's fine. It's better that they'll enter the battlefield untapped sometimes rather than never. That's where I'm at with them. They're not like great. They're not as good as check lands or pain lands, but they're fine. Check land, Glacial Fortress is always nice. Path of Ancestry is really good in a human deck. We've got Port Down. We've got Prairie Stream. We've got the Battle Lands here. I think they're also a great inclusion for the same reason as the other ones. They enter the battlefield untapped sometimes, and they tap for 2 colors. Rogue's Passage, always nice to see. Secluded Courtyard, really great fixing in a human deck. Sulphur Falls, another check land. Terramorphic Expanse, not a fan of. Throne of the High City, though, really like. It's a Monarch deck, so this is another way of getting the Monarchy. The gain lands that enter the battlefield tapped, I think are just not worth running anymore. But here they are, Tranquil Cove, Windscarred Crag. At least they have really nice new art. And then the final land of the deck, other than the basics, is Windbrisk Heights, which I really like. I like Hideaway. It's really easy to swing with 4 or more creatures in this deck, so you're going to just be generating card advantage for it. And those are all the cards you're going to find in Riders of Rohan. Of the 4 new precons, I think this is the strongest one, or at least in the top 2. And they did a really good job combining 2 very different styles of archetypes, Monarchy and Humans Go Wine, and putting them together in something that works really well and complements each other. So A+ for this precon overall. The next video will cover the final deck of the set. This is the Simic Elves deck. So be sure to like and subscribe if you don't want to miss that. And I mean, just like and subscribe anyway, because we're going to have sweet Commander content every single week over here. So might as well check those out too. All right, that is my outro. I'm going to keep that. All right, see ya.